They say a film is written 3 times. First in the screenplay,
and at night it was cold. That gives you fog. The night was foggy.
then again during production,
After the first 2 or 3 takes, every take after that is just trying something radically different.
and finally in the edit. But throughout this process, some films change more than others, and Black Swan had an unusual amount of raw material to work with, meaning by the time the filming was over, they had dozens of hours of coverage, all shot on gritty 16mm cameras and filmed like a documentary.
Darren's notion for shooting it was, hey, let's take our actresses and throw them in a room with 40 dancers and shoot it with 2 cameras and just walk around for the day and just document it.
That was editor Andrew Weisblum, who had previously worked with Darren Aronofsky on The Wrestler, discussing the most difficult sequence in the film, where Aronofsky filmed a real ballet rehearsal for 7 hours and then tasked him with turning the expositional scene into a subjective experience in post.
And I just looked at the footage and said anything that really doesn't apply to Nina's point of view and the fact that she can't turn around and stare at Vincent talking, that it's all side glances, it's all looking over the shoulders of the other dancers, it's all through mirrors, it's never in your face, a direct frontal shot.
This was his philosophy for the entire film. Nina needed to be in every scene, and more importantly, everything needed to feel like it was happening from her perspective. And that proved to be exceedingly difficult.
I guess the reason I struggled with it is because it was a very expositional scene and I had to figure out a way to make sure it was a subjective experience.
Between the tight shooting schedule and inability to do reshoots, Aronofsky had to get as much coverage as possible, leaving Weisblum with a ton of material to sort through, rearrange, and reshape in the edit.
We strip it down, make it visceral and real.
Take for instance the scene near the beginning, where Nina is attempting a really difficult move during an audition.
Maestro, audio scotta please. Now show me your Black Swan, Nina.
She gets distracted and fails, ultimately going home defeated, where she attempts to move again, only to get distracted and fail once more. But in the original cut, she gets up, tries again, and succeeds.
And then the scene with her mother, she says, I'm gonna go tell him that I did it, and she's not lying.
I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow. I'm gonna tell him I finished it.
She didn't have to lie because she landed the move, and that was a problem, because Weisblum wanted the audience to constantly doubt whether Nina could actually become the perfect ballerina she's trying to be.
Don't we always want to doubt that she can do it? There should always be that tension. So I ended up recutting that just to see if we could suggest that it's something she's striving for and fails.
Wanna be perfect.
So the edit took a moment of early success and turned it into a failure, thus reshaping Nina's trajectory through the rest of the film.
I practiced the coda last night and I finished.
But rearranging the footage wasn't the only manipulation done in the edit, because as the film goes on, it also begins to alter what Nina sees. One of the best examples of this is during the club scene.
I really need to relax.
The sequence is fairly straightforward. Nina goes out with Lily and starts to lose control, but buried throughout the scene are flashes of Nina herself. The entire sequence was constructed from more than 1,000 individual images, with roughly 20 different flashes of Nina hidden throughout the crowd.
Nina! Where are you going?
But the goal wasn't to just show us that Nina was hallucinating. Aronofsky wanted us to experience it with her.
You know, that's this type of stuff you figure out in post as you start playing with the effects and you go, okay, well, that's too much. We can see her too much there. Let's darken it up or let's move the timing around a little bit. But, you know, that's just part of the process.
And that's where the editing really starts to get interesting, because it never gives us a clear transition between reality and hallucination. It mixes them together. And once we see it happen, we start looking for it everywhere, like in Nina's reflection, where sometimes it moves a split second later, and other times we cut away before we're even sure of what we saw. And that last part is important, because Weisblum didn't just want to control what he showed us, he wanted to control how long we were allowed to see it.
That was a challenge every day. How much to give away, and how much will an audience pick up on? And, we went down to like sort of frame theory, like how many frames of seeing the double we should allow and at what point it should start to move. It was just a lot of work.
It's the same idea behind the club scene. The image doesn't have to be on screen long enough for us to consciously understand it. It just has to be there long enough for us to feel like something isn't right. This is why the documentary-style filming was so important. The camera feels like it's simply following Nina, observing her world as it happens. So when something strange appears, the movie doesn't have to announce it. We quickly learn that we can't trust anything we see, even as the hallucination slowly becomes indistinguishable from everything else. And that becomes even more complicated when we're watching from the perspective of someone who doesn't know the difference.
In terms of figuring out the film's reality, there's a lot of scenes that you're not sure if they're real or not. But for me, she believes everything that's happening. So for me, everything is real.
At first, Nina is trying to control everything. Her body, her dancing, even her performance. But the further she gets into her transformation, the less control she has over what she's experiencing. And that is reflected in the edit. First, it turns her success into failure. Then it shows her things that aren't there. And finally, it starts to feel like it's Nina's own mind. And by the time Nina finally becomes the Black Swan, the film doesn't need to convince us that something impossible is happening. We've already been conditioned to believe that reality can change from one cut to the next. And when she finally takes the stage, the distinction between her performance and her psychological breakdown has completely disappeared. She finally succeeded in becoming perfect, but the only way she could get there was to fully lose control.
That was perfect.
And that's what the edit of Black Swan is doing. It's taking a movie that was shot like a documentary and slowly destroying our trust in what the camera is showing us. And by keeping the entire film subjective, it makes us question whether we're watching Nina lose her grip on reality from the outside, or if we're trapped inside it with her. I'm Luke.
Oh, look who's decided to grace us with her presence.
I need to talk to you.
Thanks for watching.
Perfection is not just about control.